The thunder cracked so hard, the windows rattled in their frames. I was 19, supposedly too old to be scared of storms, but this one felt different, like the sky itself was tearing open above our quiet suburban house. Rain hammered the roof in angry waves, and every flash of lightning painted the walls of my bedroom white for a split second before plunging me back into darkness. My heart would not slow down. I clutched my phone, the screen's glow the only friendly thing in the room, and saw it was past 2 in the morning. Mom had been gone for 3 weeks this time, another business trip to Singapore that kept stretching long. It was just me and him now, David, my stepfather of 4 years. He was only 15 years older than me, which had always felt strange when Mom first brought him home, but he had never been anything except kind, respectful, almost careful around me, like he was afraid of taking up too much space in my life. Another boom shook the house. I squeezed my eyes shut, then threw off my covers before I could talk myself out of it. My bare feet padded down the hallway, the wooden floor cool under my soles. His door was slightly ajar, a thin blade of warm light cutting across the carpet. I hesitated, feeling suddenly childish, then pushed it open. David, my voice came out smaller than I meant. He was sitting up in bed, reading something on his tablet, the soft glow lighting the sharp lines of his jaw. He looked up immediately, concern softening his features. "Hey, sweetheart. Can't sleep?" Lightning flashed again and I flinched. He set the tablet aside without a word and lifted the edge of his blanket. The invitation was simple, familiar from when I was 15, and storms still sent me running to Mom's side of the bed. Except now Mom was not here, and I was not 15 anymore. I crossed the room quickly and slipped in beside him. The sheets were warm from his body, smelling faintly of the cedar and citrus soap he always used. He tucked the blanket around my shoulders the way he used to when I was smaller, his arm resting lightly across my waist so I could curl against his chest. My cheek found the steady thump of his heartbeat through his T-shirt. "Better?" he murmured. "Much," I whispered. The storm still raged outside, but inside this cocoon it felt miles away. We stayed like that for a long time, neither of us speaking. His breathing was slow and even. Mine gradually matched it. I told myself this was innocent. He was comforting me the only way he knew how, the way he always had when Mom was away. Nothing had to change just because I was older now. But my body noticed things it had not before. The solid weight of his arm across me, the heat radiating from his skin, the way his thumb, without seeming to realize it, traced tiny circles against the strip of bare skin where my sleep shirt had ridden up. Each circle sent a shiver through me that had nothing to do with fear of thunder. I shifted slightly, pretending to get comfortable, and my hip brushed against him. He stiffened for a fraction of a second, then relaxed again. I wondered if he felt it too, that sudden spark that made the air under the blanket feel thick. Minutes stretched. The storm quieted to a steady drum on the roof. I should have gone back to my own bed once the worst had passed, but I did not move. I liked the weight of his arm, the protective curve of his body behind mine. I liked the way he had not asked questions or teased me for being scared. He just made space for me, the same way he always had. His hand moved, slow and careful, settling more fully against my stomach. My breath caught. The touch was not fatherly anymore. It was something else, something that made my skin prickle under the thin cotton. I waited for him to pull away, to apologize and roll over, but he did not. Instead, his palm flattened, fingers spreading just enough to cover more skin. "You okay?" His voice was low, rough from sleep or something darker. I nodded against his chest, not trusting my voice. My heart was racing again, but not from thunder. His thumb swept across my skin once more, deliberate this time, and heat pooled low in my belly. I pressed my thighs together under the blanket, suddenly aware of every inch of space, or lack of it, between us. Outside, another low rumble rolled across the sky, farther away now. Inside, the silence felt heavy, waiting. His fingers traced the waistband of my shorts, not pushing beneath, just resting there, warm and unmoving. I could feel his heartbeat quicken against my shoulder blade. I turned my head just enough to see the line of his jaw in the dim light from the hallway. His eyes were open, watching the ceiling, throat working as he swallowed. The muscle in his arm flexed like he was fighting himself. I should say something. I should move. Instead, I let out the smallest sigh and shifted backward, pressing myself more firmly against him. The movement was tiny, almost accidental, but it changed everything. His sharp inhale told me he understood exactly what I would done. His hand slid an inch lower, fingertips brushing the soft skin just above where my shorts ended. My whole body went still, waiting, wanting. The storm had moved on, but something fiercer was building right here under this blanket, something neither of us had named yet. I closed my eyes and let the warmth of his palm sink into me, let the last of my hesitation slip away. Whatever happened next, I was not leaving this bed tonight. The air under the blanket felt too thick to breathe. His hand stayed exactly where it was, fingertips resting on the soft rise just below my navel, but the weight of it burned more than any movement could. I could feel the tremor in his arm, the same tremor that ran through my own legs. Neither of us spoke. The storm outside had softened to a gentle rain, tapping like a secret code against the window. I shifted again, barely an inch, and this time there was no pretending it was accidental. My back arched the tiniest bit, pressing my body more fully into his. The thin fabric of my shorts and his sweatpants suddenly felt like nothing at all. I felt him unmistakably hard against the curve of my bottom, and the knowledge sent a rush of liquid heat between my thighs. His breath stuttered against my hair. "Sweetheart." It was half warning, half plea. I turned in the circle of his arm until I faced him. The hallway light painted faint gold across his cheekbones, his eyes dark and wide. We were so close, our noses almost touched. I could taste his exhale, warm and faintly mint from toothpaste. "I am not a kid anymore," I whispered. The words felt huge in the quiet room. His gaze dropped to my mouth. "I know." The hand on my stomach slid upward, slow enough that I could have stopped him at any moment. I did not. His palm glided over my ribs, thumb brushing the underside of my breast through the old t-shirt. My nipple tightened instantly, aching for more. When his thumb swept across it again, deliberate this time, I could not hold back the soft sound that escaped my throat. He groaned, low and broken, and then his mouth was on mine. The kiss was not gentle. It was 4 years of careful distance exploding all at once, teeth and tongue and desperation. I opened for him immediately, tasting the faint bitterness of coffee he would had hours ago, tasting want. His hand cupped my breast fully now, squeezing just hard enough to make me arch into him. I clutched at his shoulders, nails digging into warm cotton and muscle. We broke apart only to breathe, foreheads still touching. "We should not," he rasped, but his hips rolled forward, pressing his hardness against my belly like his body had already voted. "I do not care," I said, and kissed him again. This time his hand slipped under my shirt, skin on skin. The shock of it made me gasp into his mouth. His palm was hot, calloused from weekend projects around the house, and it felt perfect against me. He circled my nipple with his thumb, then pinched lightly, and the sharp pleasure shot straight between my legs. I was already embarrassingly wet. I could feel it every time I moved. I tugged at his t-shirt, wanting it gone. He pulled back just long enough to yank it over his head and toss it aside. Moonlight and hallway glow traced the lines of his chest, the faint dusting of hair that narrowed into a trail disappearing beneath his waistband. I ran my hands over all of it, greedy, memorizing. He watched me with something like awe, then hooked his fingers under the hem of my own shirt. I lifted my arms and let him peel it off. Cool air hit my bare breasts for only a second before his mouth was there, hot and wet, drawing my nipple between his lips. I cried out softly, fingers threading through his hair to hold him close. The blanket had slipped down to our waists. His hand slid down my side, tracing the dip of my waist, the flare of my hip. When his fingers reached the waistband of my shorts again, he paused, lips still moving against my breast. "Tell me to stop," he murmured against my skin. "Tell me now, and I will." I answered by lifting my hips and pushing the shorts down myself. He helped, dragging them off my legs along with my panties in one smooth motion. Then I was naked beside him, heart hammering so loud I was sure he could hear it. He looked at me for a long moment, eyes moving over every newly revealed inch. "God, you are beautiful," he said, voice rough with reverence. I reached for the tie on his sweatpants. My hands shook, but I managed to loosen it. He lifted his hips so I could push them down. When his length sprang free, hot and heavy against my thigh, I wrapped my fingers around him instinctively. He hissed, head falling back against the pillow. We moved together slowly at first, exploring with hands and mouths and whispered curses. Every touch felt forbidden and perfect. When his fingers finally slid between my legs, parting slick folds, I was so ready I nearly came from that alone. He circled my clit once, twice, then pushed one finger inside me. My back bowed off the bed. "David!" I gasped. "I have got you," he whispered, adding a second finger, stretching me gently. His thumb kept pressure on that sensitive bundle of nerves while his fingers curled, finding the spot that made my thighs tremble. I rocked against his hand, chasing the building wave. He kissed me through it, swallowing every moan, until pleasure crashed over me so hard I saw stars. My whole body clenched around his fingers, pulsing, and he kept stroking until I was boneless and shaken. When I could breathe again, I pushed at his shoulder until he rolled onto his back. I straddled his hips, feeling him hot and rigid beneath me. His hands settled on my waist, thumbs stroking my skin. "Look at me," he said softly. I did. Even in the dim light, the love and guilt and raw need in his eyes undid me. I reached between us, guiding him to my entrance. We both groaned as I sank down inch by slow inch until he was buried completely inside me. For a moment we just stayed like that, joined, breathing hard. Then I started to move. The first slow roll of my hips drew a ragged sound from his throat that went straight to my core. I braced my palms on his chest, feeling the rapid thud of his heart under my fingers, and did it again. His hands tightened on my waist, guiding but not forcing, letting me set the rhythm. Every downward glide took him deeper, stretched me fuller, until pleasure blurred the edges of everything else. Rain still tapped softly against the window, but inside the room there was only the creak of the mattress, our breathing, the slick sounds of my body welcoming his. I leaned forward, hair falling like a curtain around us, and kissed him. He met me hungrily, one hand sliding up my spine to cradle the back of my head, while the other slipped between us. His thumb found my clit again, circling in time with my movements, and I broke the kiss with a sharp cry. "Like that," I panted. "Do not stop." "Never," he promised against my lips. I sat back, changing the angle, and we both moaned. From this position, I could watch his face, eyes half-lidded, jaw clenched, the raw wonder that flickered across his features every time I took him to the hilt. I felt powerful and cherished at once. His hips began to rise to meet me, careful thrusts that still shook me to my toes. Sweat gathered between my breasts along the line of his stomach. The room smelled of us now, warm skin and desire. I was climbing again, faster this time, the coil in my belly tightening with every stroke. His thumb pressed harder, perfect pressure, and I shattered a second time, clenching around him so fiercely he cursed under his breath. My nails scored red lines across his chest as I rode the waves, trembling. He flipped us before the last shudder left me. Suddenly I was on my back, his weight settling between my thighs, still buried deep. The shift stole my breath. He braced on his elbows, caging me in, and started moving with slow, deliberate strokes that felt like claiming. "Look at me," he said again, voice gravel in reverence. I forced my eyes open. His gaze locked on mine, fierce and unguarded. Every thrust pushed a soft sound from my throat. Every withdrawal made me clutch at his shoulders, desperate for him to return. The guilt we should have felt was nowhere, burned away by heat and need and something that felt dangerously like love. "I have wanted this," he rasped, "wanted you for longer than I had any right to." The confession broke something open in me. I wrapped my legs high around his waist, heels digging into the small of his back, urging him deep. "Then take me," I whispered. "I am yours." That undid him. His rhythm faltered, then turned hard and relentless. The bed frame knocked softly against the wall in a new, urgent beat. I met every thrust, rising to him, nails raking down his back. Pleasure coiled again, impossibly soon, tighter and higher than before. He slipped a hand between us once more, fingers slick against my swollen clit, and I came apart a third time with his name on my lips. This climax was deeper, almost painful in its intensity, rolling through me in endless pulses. My body gripped him like it never wanted to let go. David buried his face in my neck, hips stuttering. "Where?" he managed, voice strained to breaking. Inside, I breathed without hesitation. "Please?" One final thrust and he stilled, spilling hot and deep with a raw groan that vibrated against my skin. I felt every pulse, every shudder as he gave himself over completely. His arms shook as he held himself above me, careful even now not to crush me, until the last tremor passed and he lowered himself gently. We stayed locked together, hearts hammering in tandem, sweat cooling on our skin. He pressed soft kisses along my collarbone, my jaw, the corner of my mouth, like he was memorizing the taste of me. I threaded my fingers through his damp hair, holding him close. Minutes or hours later, he eased out and rolled us so I was draped across his chest. The blanket had long since fallen to the floor. Neither of us moved to retrieve it. His hand traced lazy circles on my back, grounding me. "We crossed every line tonight," he said quietly, staring at the ceiling. I lifted my head to meet his eyes. There was fear there, but also certainty. "Then we will redraw the map together," I answered. A slow, wondering smile curved his mouth. He brushed a strand of hair from my cheek, thumb lingering. "You are sure?" I leaned in and kissed him, soft and slow, tasting both of us on his tongue. I have never been more sure of anything. Outside, the rain had stopped entirely. Dawn was still hours away, but the darkness no longer felt heavy. It felt like shelter. He pulled the blanket up over us at last, tucking me against his side. My legs slid between his, our fingers intertwined on his chest. Sleep tugged at me, warm and inevitable. Just before I drifted off, I felt his lips brush my forehead. "I love you," he whispered into my hair, so quietly I might have dreamed it. But I did not dream my answer. "I love you too." Under the blanket, boundaries had melted into nothing but warmth and the steady beat of two hearts that had finally found their way home.